What's up, Tweeners? Welcome back to another Tweener tennis video today here on the channel. And today we have a very special guest. We have Will from the Tennis Tribe to talk about the new doubles rules that were put into place for this upcoming Madrid Open as a trial period, but at the same time could influence the future of the sport. Now, Will's been on the channel before and we were gracious enough to have him, and we made our own video giving our own opinions. We wanted to bring you guys a more comprehensive video of what's going on and how doubles players are reacting to this information. Now, Will has done a couple interviews when he was at Indian Wells, and if you want to check those out, you can check them out in the description below to see their reaction and to hear their voices and opinions on what's going on the doubles tour. But before you guys enjoy this video, make sure you are subscribed. We're trying to hit 6,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're almost there, but most of you guys are coming back for the videos anyways. Over 80% of you that are watching this video right now are not subscribed. What are you doing? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and leave a comment down below of what you guys think of these new doubles rules coming to Madrid. Enjoy our video with Will from the Tennis Tribe on the new doubles rules. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode today with the one and only Will from the Tennis Tribe and our go-to doubles guy. You are the official Tweener head tennis source for everything doubles. And Will, it's always great to have you back on the channel. How are we doing today?
Doing good. Thanks again for having me. It seems like I'm the doubles source for most channels at this point because there's not that many doubles sources out there, but I'm hoping that'll change over the coming years. But I'm happy to do it. It's a lot of fun.
100%, and we can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to do this. And let's just start with the rules just to get it going, because new rules came out. We recently made a video on it. It seemed to have a lot of interesting perspective from the responses we got, and a lot of different takes on the matter as well. So we gave our thoughts on it. If you want to check it out, click the link right above my head right now to go check it out if you want to. But Will, what do you think of the rule changes of what happened and when it was announced for kind of a temporary measure for this year's Madrid Open?
Yeah. So first of all, like before I even get to the changes, I'm kind of just glad that they're doing something.
Okay.
It's become clear that the current setup for doubles is not really sustainable, and like nobody's really winning. In my opinion, like the doubles players aren't paid enough. The tours, I think both doubles tours cost money for like the ATP and WTA. You have these singles players entering draws and then backing out after a round at a lot of tournaments, or even withdrawing late just to get to the next tournament because they don't care about doubles. So it's really not working great for anyone, for the most part. And I think, especially with the potential, at least that I see doubles has, I think it could be doing so much more.
Please subscribe. Thanks.
And I'm just happy that they're making some changes and trying stuff out. And I don't agree with all the changes they're making, but I'd rather them make some changes than do nothing and keep it the same. So I want to start with that. The second thing is, I would say, like, these changes came out and a lot of people, especially all over Twitter or X,
Twitter.
Or
it's
just
never X.
Yeah.
It's never X.
Twitter. Everybody's so quick to like judge and share their opinion and say like, oh, this is terrible, this is so dumb, it's going to ruin this. And it's just like everybody has all these extreme opinions. Like in reality, most of these rules, or some of the rules anyways, I don't think are going to have a huge impact, which is not like a hot take. So it's not something that somebody's going to share on Twitter. But yeah, we can go through each of these. I've got the article pulled up here. The first one says more singles versus doubles action. So
which I don't like the title to start with, but
yeah,
it's, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but to kind of get into these rules with it, I understand why they're doing it, but I don't think over the long run it's going to help. I think it's mostly, and I think I commented this on Twitter yesterday,
that they're doing it to get more people to watch doubles, not
Hmm.
to enhance not to enhance the level, because the level's already great, but it's more
Hmm.
about getting people and getting eyes on doubles itself.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Yeah, so talked with Matt Ebden about this. So it
Hmm.
was I released it on my podcast for people who want to go check it out. You can
Hmm.
maybe link to it in the show notes or something.
Click the link
But
above.
he he talked about, getting more singles players in the doubles draws, but then
Hmm.
not having them drop out. And he talked about this singles versus doubles rivalry,
Hmm.
because it is a thing, right? When you see like um, Ebden and Bopana play against like Hurkacz and Dimitrov or
Yeah.
Tsitsipas and Kokkinakis or
Yeah.
the in fact the one behind me, it was Tsitsipas and Kokkinakis against Ram and Salisbury.
Which is a fun
In my
which is fun to watch. Like
It was
it's
great. Like the crowd, you can see like it was a pretty good crowd. There's also stands on this side as well. Like
love that.
can't point. And it
Yeah.
was like totally full. And a lot of times, in fact, the majority of the time, the doubles specialists do win. It's not like 70% of the time. It's probably like 55 or 60% of the time. But
Yeah.
in this case, Raymond Salisbury won. It's a very close match. I think it was like 7-6, 7-6 or something. But
But even
anyways, yeah, you're right. It's not to enhance the level, but I
mhm,
think their thought process is to draw more singles stars
mhm,
to draw more fans to the courts and maybe
mhm,
get more people to watch it on the streaming service or whatever it is.
yeah.
Which makes sense. And I think you're right. Like I think it's a good short-term solution.
Mhm,
Like if I have one doubles match tomorrow and want as many people to watch it as possible, like I'm just not going to choose double specialists.
yeah.
But if we want to think over like 10 or 20 years or even like 5 years, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, how do we turn these double specialists into stars? Well, we got to start with marketing. And that's something they just have totally neglected to this point, like both tours.
Before you continue with this video, today's video is sponsored by the Universal Tennis Power Subscription Service, which allows you to see every decimal of someone's UTR rating when you're playing them to get a better understanding of where they are in terms of level. The Power Subscription is not just for looking at numbers, it's also for great discounts on amazing companies like Fabletics, like Tennis Warehouse, and many other companies. Now, you can check them out using the link in the description below.
In fact, like in Miami, I was there with a media credential. For people who don't know how it works, is like each morning you submit interview request with
Hmm.
each tour. So there's a
Yeah.
WTA and then ATP. I say I want to talk to Rajiv Ram and Joe Salisbury if they win their match. I want to
Yeah.
talk to Rohan Bopana if he wins his match, whatever it is. And I did maybe eight or so post-match interviews,
Yeah.
and on seven of the eight, I was the only person interviewing the
Yep.
doubles teams. Whereas if you just chose a random eight singles matches and
You're
interviewed the
not
winner
getting
afterwards,
you're getting probably
there's no
one.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe. I think every single singles post-match interview pretty much, except maybe a couple of the early rounds where it's like
Yeah.
a a player not from the US in this case, since it's in Miami.
Yeah.
Like maybe you'd get a one-on-one conversation, but in
Yeah.
seven of the eight, I get a one-on-one conversation with like Bethany Maddox-Sands and Sophia Kinnon
Yeah.
or Rajiv Ram and Joe Salisbury or
Which is
Alicia
wild.
Mertens. Yeah, so it's crazy. And that just kind of illustrates like, okay, there's a marketing problem here. If
Yeah.
like I'm the only person that's interviewing these players and that's getting their messaging out there, that's a problem because like I just started this like 4 or 5 years ago doing this on my own. Like I shouldn't be the only person doing this.
Yeah.
Um,
And I want to piggyback on that too. It's when and I, going with your story of getting a media credential, like I've been grateful enough to be in some tournaments and go to some tournaments with a media credential. And when you request, you can do win or lose. And
Hmm.
when it comes to that, a lot of the players that they use to do some of these outreach programs or to do some of these promotions with a club or to have a kids day, do you know which
Yeah.
players they ask? Doubles players. And they'll get one or two singles players. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, if we're going to use them to talk about or to use them to promote the sport of tennis, they should be getting the media attention as well to kind of
Hmm.
align themselves with it instead of just being, okay, we're going to bring a tennis player to this clinic. We're going to bring a tennis player to this. All right, let's ask some of the singles guys. They all said no. Okay, let's go to the doubles. And the doubles guys are
Hmm.
always, doubles guys or women are always down to do it.
Yeah.
And it's wild to think about how they can use them for their promotional content, but won't like, and
Promote them. Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong about it, but it just seems they're not doing it in the proper way afterwards. They're only using it for the promotion, but won't do anything to talk about it afterwards. They
Yeah.
just did one with Novak and Bobano as like the oldest number ones. Like
Yeah.
that's,
That's kind
but
of
we,
cool.
which is cool, but they need more content like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. Um, yeah, but as far as this rule, like my first impression was this is too many slots reserved for singles, so 16 slots.
It is a
Um,
lot.
I'm I'm still not clear on like what that even means exactly.
Is it 8 teams in a 32 draw, or is it like
Or
because
16 teams. I
16
don't know
teams?
because I don't know because sometimes a singles player will team up with a doubles player, right? So
Yeah,
like
exactly. So does that take
um
away a spot from for the
the
singles
singles
or
or the doubles.
doubles?
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly.
It says 32 team draw will feature up to 16 slots reserved for teams entering it via their singles ranking.
But that's
So
teams,
I
that's
don't,
not players.
yeah, so
That's
I don't
what I
know
mean.
what happens if a singles player enters with a doubles player.
So it
Uh,
maybe it's just 16 slots, like
I'm
16
not sure.
entries, but that's still again not quite clear.
Regardless, it struck me as is just a little bit too much, I think, because the idea that single stars are going to bring more attention to doubles, like that's true, right? Like
Yeah, no doubt.
I've seen it like when they put Curios on Stadium 2 in Indian Wells or on Louis Armstrong in New York. Like
Yeah.
it draws a crowd and it's
Yeah.
great and I love it for doubles. But when they put I'm not gonna name names, but like if it's like the 29th ranked singles player in the world and we're in Miami or Indian Wells or New York,
Hmm.
and the players from like Europe or Australia or something, like they're not drawing a bigger crowd than the doubles specialist for the doubles court.
Yeah.
So I think of these 16 slots, assuming it means 16 teams, like I think maybe four, max eight teams will actually draw a significantly bigger crowd than just having all four double specialists on the court.
Which
So
is
I don't know. That
which
was the
would
first thing
help.
that kind of struck me.
Which would help, but also be tough if they're not going to put it on center court. Like the only time they're getting
Hmm.
doubles doubles
Like on
players
the main
on the
stadium.
main stadium is like for the semifinals, quarterfinals, maybe, or well, quarterfinals later in the day. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's
semis
it.
and finals. Yeah, but
Exactly.
I think yeah, yeah, that was my initial impression. Like 16 seems like too much, but again, I'm glad they're trying something. And then
Yeah.
I did get the sense that like at least when I spoke with Matt, he kind of explained that like these singles players versus doubles players creates this really cool rivalry,
Hmm.
which I get how that could be a thing. I'm speaking just personally here. Like
That's
for
fine.
me, that's not like that's not a thing for me personally. Like I don't when I look at like the order of play and I'm at a tournament or
Mhm.
like even sitting here at home and I'm looking at like who's going to be playing Monte Carlo tomorrow morning my time,
Yeah.
I'm not looking for like two singles players against two doubles players. Like that's not compelling for me. So I don't know if maybe he has some sort of like data that shows people want to see that,
Mhm.
outside of the fact that like people just want to see these stars. I'm not sure. I know they've done the other thing I'll add is I know they've done a ton of homework and research on this stuff.
Okay, that's
He,
good.
he really reiterated that over and over, both on and off air, and like they've they did not just like throw this stuff together in one meeting. Like
Okay.
they've been talking about this stuff for a long time.
Hmm.
They've done there's the survey I'm doing now, which we can talk about in a bit, but
Hmm.
I know they've done a lot of research, talking to tournament directors, talking to fans, talking to both tours, talking to players. So I don't think this is something that, they did on a whim.
So let's kind of get to this survey as well. You put out a survey on Twitter, which was reposted by a lot of not just male doubles players, but female doubles players as well. I know Nicole
Hmm.
Mellicard retweeted it. I know Ellen did, um,
Hmm.
and a couple of others in terms of questions about doubles and watching it, participating in it, how much tennis you play. So I wanted to get, because you told me before we started recording that you got 1,200 responses from this. And I wanted to
So
ask
far,
you
yeah.
so far, and it's not
Hmm.
done yet. So what's the consensus so far from, and what have you learned from this survey about doubles or people partaking in doubles?
Hmm. Yeah, and I want to include, I mean, people listening, if you haven't filled it out, I would love for y'all to.
Yeah,
So
we'll
let's
leave the link to it down in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to it. Yeah, I'll put a link to it wherever you may
okay, that'd
listen
be
to it
great.
as well.
Yeah, so we've got 1,200 responses. It started with uh my conversation with Matt. So I spoke with him. We did the podcast and we kept chatting a little bit afterwards, and um he messaged me a couple days later on Instagram and said it'd be really cool if you did a survey. And I'd actually already done this. So I did this back in 2021 with Gabby Dabrowski,
Okay.
who she's like top 10 in the world, I believe, right now, maybe number
Yeah.
four. Won the US Open last fall. Uh, so me and Gabby did this back in 2021, and we just kind of threw it together. At the time, she was on the WTA Players Council. Matt Ebden is
Hmm.
on the ATP Players Council currently.
Hmm.
And I told him like I did this back in 2021, but I have a bigger audience now. We could probably get a lot more responses. And I just know more players now, so they can share it. So I kind of edited basically what we had back in 2021, added some new questions that he kind of wanted to see.
Hmm.
And it's very short. It takes 2 minutes to fill out, basically asking people how much doubles do you play? Do you play mixed doubles or men's, women's, or even do
Hmm.
you play singles? How much do you watch on TV? What is the reason you're not watching as much doubles as maybe you'd like to? So different questions like that.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's a few at the end that are kind of um, open-ended questions where people can just type in their own response, like what would make doubles more entertaining.
Hmm.
And I mean, so far, yeah, we've gotten a good response. I reached out to a bunch of players and just people I know in the industry, including you, to share it.
Hmm.
And yeah, a lot of players were obviously super supportive. So they
Love it.
all shared it on Instagram and Twitter. And um, so far, yeah, 1,221 responses. Uh, the first question is, what do you play regularly? So it's got singles, men's/women's doubles, mixed doubles, and then none. I'm just a tennis fan. So 67% of people checked the box for men's/women's doubles. That's the most common.
Okay.
41% were singles,
Hmm.
33% mixed, and then 20% none.
Okay.
So, yeah, about 50% more for men's slash women's doubles than singles. And then singles was ahead of mixed. So that was kind of interesting. I guess not super surprising.
Hmm.
Because most adult players, are playing doubles, since singles is kind of tough.
Yeah.
Uh, how much tennis do you watch on TV? It seems like the sample of this survey was people who are big tennis fans.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess it's people like you and me because 75% of people said they watch at least one tournament per month, which is
Yeah.
not going to be like your average, club player in the
You're
US. I would
you're
imagine they're
yeah.
go
It's
ahead.
like they're great. It's like the Grand Slam watchers.
Yeah, yeah,
It's kind
exactly.
of that kind of crowd where they'll get excited when a major's on, but they won't personally seek out a 25 250 in Bogota, Colombia that
Right,
Camila Orzario just won. Like
right,
they're not searching for that, but we are.
right, exactly. Or even watch like some of the 1000 events that are overseas, like Monte Carlo, right?
Like
Like
right now,
you have
you
to
have to
search
look
for
for that.
Tennis Channel. Yeah, you have to look for it. And like this is a separate issue, but like if you are on, well, YouTube TV doesn't have Tennis Channel, they just have T2. But if you have like cable or whatever,
You have
um,
Tennis Channel.
you do have Tennis Channel, but a lot of the time it's not near like the other sports channels, or it's like at the very end of it. It's in a weird spot, you know?
It's like the
Um,
second or third channels of ESPN or Fox. It's like you have
okay.
main sports channels, you have FS1, you have Fox Sports One, you have ESPNU, ESPN
Yeah.
News, um, and then you'll have T2
Golf
or
Channel.
Golf Channel and then Tennis Channel.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well,
it's
if it's near there, that's good. I mean, there's been like, I remember like a year or so ago, I was staying at a hotel and I was going through the channel guide and I actually posted a picture of it. But like all the sports channels were together. And then there was a series of like, I don't know, just movie channels and like HGTV and stuff like that. And then Tennis Channel was like all the way at the end. So
yeah.
like if you're a sports fan and you're like just kind of scrolling through looking for some sporting event to watch, you're going to stay in that area and you're not going to
Mhm.
see Tennis Channel. So like
Yeah.
that's just like, I don't know, little things like that matter for the growth of the sport.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well,
anyways,
let me
but
ask
my
you,
plan, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, you first.
Anyways, my plan is to run this survey for like another week, maybe two, and then
Okay.
I'm gonna publish a blog post on the results and kind of my interpretation of the results and things like
Okay.
that. So I'll definitely share that with you once it's done.
Would love to see that. And for you too, one of the questions I remember, if people watch doubles specifically or they'll seek out doubles, what was the response with that?
Let's see.
Because I thought that was a really good question because I feel like it's not really that
Yeah,
common for people to be like, oh, it's on tennis TV or it's on tennis channel, let me watch it. But then you
yeah.
have a Masters 1000. I think this was tweeted out yesterday by someone, how there were three doubles matches and at least one of them had a singles player and none of them were being streamed by tennis TV. So the lack of coverage,
hmm
not even from like a media standpoint of Twitter and Instagram, it's more like
You
the
can't watch it if you want to.
yeah, exactly. Like it's not even
Yeah,
given as an
yeah,
option anymore. It
yeah.
seems like it's still
Right.
struggling. Like why wouldn't you put that on there if the court's streamable? Why wouldn't you put it on there
I don't
as
know.
the option?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I wish I did. So I've got, let's
Leave it.
see, how many doubles matches have you watched on TV slash streaming service in the past year?
Mhm.
Is it that one, or what would motivate you to watch more doubles on TV?
First one.
First one.
Yeah.
So the most common response was 2 to 10 matches. So doubles matches watched on TV in the last year. So it was 45% of people have watched 2 to 10.
Okay, that's yeah.
Uh, 24% have watched over 21 doubles matches. So these are big doubles fans that,
Yeah, this is your
um,
community. So it
yeah,
may be skewed a little biased towards it, but at the same
oh,
time,
it definitely
it
is. Yeah.
definitely is. But at the same time, when you have a product like that, and it's funny, I think the last time I had you on was during the Opelka comments of doubles.
Hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
right now, with doubles and these rules, is this just applying to the ATP?
Yeah. As far as I know right now, it's just the ATP, but I think
Is the WTA
typically,
going to at least try something like this, or is this still up in the air from your sources?
I don't know. I really don't know, but I mean, typically I feel like the WTA usually follows the ATP's lead.
Okay.
Since they're struggling a bit more financially, like I feel like the
Yeah,
ATP kind of, I don't know, maybe controls the direction of the sport a little bit more.
definitely.
So I
Well,
would guess that, yeah, I would guess that the WTA will start to do some of this stuff too.
okay. And have
Um,
you, and after these came out too, with some of the players, what was your response like from from the people you have interviewed or some of the people you've reached out to?
yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to anybody personally, really at all. I've seen some reactions on Twitter. I think the biggest problem that a lot of players, especially the doubles players, are complaining about is these 16 slots for teams entering via their singles ranking because now these doubles teams who are like, I don't know what the ranking cutoff will be, but let's say like, 30 in the world, like they're
Mhm.
not going to get into Madrid.
Yeah,
Like it's just it may be
it
45 in the world. I don't know where the cutoff is, but the cutoff is closer to one than it was before. Like if
exactly,
before the cutoff was 50, now it's like 40 or 30.
which is
So these
even
people,
tougher, which is even tougher for
yeah,
these guys.
and they're not making like their prize money's already lower, like significantly lower. A
So the
doubles player
1000s
makes like,
matters. So like the bigger
oh, it's
tournaments matter.
huge. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, they're having to play 30 tournaments a year. They can't play like, 12 tournaments a year like Djokovic does or whoever.
They
So
can't build out their schedule like a singles player because the volume has to be greater in order to get the same return as a singles player
yeah, well, even
playing
I mean, they still don't get the same return. They get paid like
a
10
quarter.
to 12%.
Yeah.
Um, well, a quarter as a team, but they split that. So it's like
Okay.
around 10 to 12%.
Wow.
um, of the prize money of a singles player. So a typical singles player is making 9 or 10x
Yeah.
the same ranked doubles player. Um, so I think that was the biggest complaint, which I understand. But like, at least from my perspective, like I want to do what is best for the long term for doubles.
Hmm.
And if that means like some of the lower ranked doubles players have to take a hit now so that in the
Hmm.
long run, those same ranked doubles players will have more exposure and more prize money, I think that's worth it. Now, does this do that? That's a separate conversation. I don't think that it does, in my opinion.
Hmm.
But again, they've done a lot of research on this. And overall, like I'm glad that they're trying something. Um, so I don't
And
know. That's my take on the singles versus doubles. If we want to move on to some of the other rule changes.
well, I wanted to talk to you because I have not that much time before I have to get back on court. The
Okay.
two other rules that I wanted to talk about was the shot clock for under four shots and the less amount of changeovers during
Hmm.
the set
Yeah.
because they switched it. Because I believe right now it's a 25-second shot clock, correct? For singles and doubles.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
And then now they're saying if players, let's start with the shot clock one first, players that have the doubles players that have a four or less shot rally only have 15 seconds.
Hmm. So if it's like a missed return,
or like a
then
poach winner, then
yeah.
it's going to be 15 seconds. But,
Yeah.
and I explained this in my video, so I won't get too much into it. The fact that they don't have that much time to reset their strategy or do their own routine to then get into it, like, and I said in my
Hmm.
video, by the time I'm done finishing this statement, the 15 seconds is over. And you're telling me
Hmm.
these players have to go through their entire routine and do a strategy before they serve is kind of, I think Ellen
Yeah.
Perez pointed that out as well on Twitter,
Yeah.
where how do you think that this could doubles is already a fast-paced game. Now it's basically speed tennis. That's how I'm defining it when we talk about that. And I wanted to get
Hmm.
your opinion on what you thought about that kind of initiative that they're trying to set for doubles.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the shot clock, I I don't know. If it were up to me, I wouldn't have changed it. I'd keep it at 25. I might even talk to players and make it 30,
Yeah.
if they want to. I just don't think this matters that much.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't think there's really any benefit to changing it from 25 to 15 for shorter rallies. If anything, it's just going to make it a little bit more confusing for the chair umpire. Um,
And
and
we've already had a lot
also,
of discrepancy with chair umpires this year already. So we need
yeah.
to add something else to the VAR discussion for tennis
Um,
players.
and then also, Ellen's point's correct. Like, there's a lot of one of the fun things about doubles is there's so much strategy involved, and you're going back and huddling up with your partner when you're the serve team and talking about like, okay, like they've been hitting their backhand line a lot. Like, why don't we go body backhand here? You give them a fake, and then you'll pick off the volley. And there's got to be a little bit of dialogue back and forth. Like the server might say, I don't like that. Let's stick with the wide serve here. Oh, time violation. It's like they need to be able to have that conversation to perform at their best. And I would rather them perform at their best than make it speed tennis, like you call it. So I don't like this rule. I don't think there's really any benefit to it. I
Hmm.
don't in all of these, not all, but like, well, for the most part, these rules are an adjustment of the product.
Yeah.
And I don't think doubles has a product problem. Like, I think it has a marketing problem. So like changing the shot clocks, like really just, I mean, that's not going to help. And it's not something that's, I don't know. A lot of people are like talking about and have their opinion on, but it's just, I don't know.
It,
I don't think
it
it matters a whole lot.
doesn't add up to the greater problem that they're trying to
Yeah.
solve. And
Hmm.
it actually, when thinking about this now, it's kind of going towards, or at least these rules kind of go towards, I wouldn't say ultimate tennis showdown, but when you have a more fast-paced game, that's what it kind of
Yeah.
relates to. And with the
Yeah.
no, even everyone has to have a changeover. And so kind of getting into that part of it, fewer changeovers or at least less sit downs. That's
Yeah. I
I,
think
I
so.
don't necessarily get that. I get it for the first game of the second set or a new set, but
Mhm. I think they're doing it for the first set, so no
okay.
sit downs on changeovers.
Okay.
And I think I mean, they're going to be able to get, it's like basically a um changeover at like 3-all and a tiebreaker, right? Like you can
Yeah.
go around, you can go by your chair, you can grab a drink of water, and then you
Hmm.
move on. Uh, from I don't know. I haven't talked about this a ton with the players. I know
Hmm.
from my own experience, like obviously I'm a far worse doubles player than they are. I'm
Hmm.
also in worse shape than they are. Uh,
Same.
but from my own experience, like the first set of a doubles match, like I'm not typically that winded. Like I don't need a 90-second changeover.
Okay.
Um, and some of the players I've talked to have echoed kind of similar sentiment. Like
Okay.
we don't need a full 90 second. So I think like that doesn't affect the actual play during the game like the shot
Hmm.
clock does. And it doesn't affect I don't think it affects their performance. Now, if I talk to a lot more players and they're like, no, we strategize a ton on those changeovers early on, and
Hmm.
then maybe like there's an argument there. Overall, I don't think it's again, I don't think it's something that's going to have a huge impact on like
Hmm.
the product or the fans or anything
Okay.
like that. Maybe they do something in between and do like 45-second changeovers instead of 90 where they can sit, but
It's just
uh
shorter.
yeah, it doesn't bother me. I mean, if I had to pick one or the other, I'd rather keep the 25-second shot clock, and I'm
Okay.
fine with the no sit downs.
Okay. I like that. And for you, is there another rule that because I mean, we basically talked about all the big ones. For you, what direction do you see doubles going with this Madrid Open
Yeah.
kind of guinea pig experiment?
Well, so the two other rules we talked about, one is the streamlined schedule. So they're going to start doubles on Tuesday of week 2 of the tournament. So by that time, singles, I think, is already in the round of 16. So the
Hmm.
majority of the singles field is out. The reason they're starting, or one of the reasons they're starting on Tuesday, is so that some of those singles players who do lose in round 1, 2, or 3 can enter the doubles draw. They can the
Which
day
is good
before, which can be good,
if they
depending
need.
on the singles player. And
Well, also getting
yeah,
more
a
reps
lot of
in too and more match
mhm.
readiness like that. I like
Right.
because we always go back to the idea of like with Coco Gauff and Jessica Pegula last year or 2 years ago, like them having success or even Victoria Azarenka with Barty like that. They liked playing because it still helped their singles game and it still helped them get
Hmm.
match tough and match ready when it came to the
Yeah.
long run of the doubles.
Yeah. So like that's the other adjustment.
Hmm.
I don't know what I think of that. Like I like the idea of having like, the doubles teams play every day, but I don't like the idea of having an entire first week of the tournament with no doubles at all. So I'm kind of torn on that one. We'll see how it goes.
Well,
But
let
but I think
me,
it's fine for the players though. Like I don't
yeah.
think they have an issue playing every single day because doubles is just not as physically taxing as singles is. So
Well, I also want to kind of, and I'll kind of go in support of this a little now that I'm thinking about it when it comes to streamlining the schedule.
hmm
It gives players another opportunity to play an extra week at a different tournament. Like,
hmm
say if they don't, or like a challenge or a smaller tournament, and then they can go to Madrid already match ready and have extra points and have extra prize money. So that way it's not wasting or like playing 2 days, then you have to go travel the next week. You can already plan it farther ahead with your double schedule for the week before. So that way by Tuesday, you're able to rest, recover, and get ready for Madrid. So I,
Yeah,
I can I can see that working to some people's advantage.
yeah. I don't know what, if any, like tournaments they're gonna have during week 1 of Madrid for doubles players. You know what I mean? Like
It's
I don't
challengers.
think
That's the
they're.
problem. It's challengers.
Yeah, I don't. So they're gonna have to like come up with, like, maybe that's a market opportunity for somebody else to like create new kind of doubles only tournaments during week 1 of these 1000s that are like near the 1000 event. So like let's take Miami for example. Like maybe Delray does a week 1 of Miami, they do their own
Yeah.
like doubles tournament. So that
Yeah.
way when the doubles teams lose, they just drive down to Miami and go.
I like that.
Um,
Even with
so
Monte
something like
Carlo, do it
that.
something close to the coast.
Yeah,
So that
something
way
in
it's ready.
Nice or wherever.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
I think that could work. But right now, I don't think that those
Mm.
schedule opportunities are there. But anyways, like we'll see how the streamlined schedule goes. The biggest one for me is the free fan movement, which we hadn't talked about.
Mm.
I think this is a huge upgrade. I'm very excited about it.
Mm.
I haven't, like, the people I've talked to who don't like it are players who they haven't come out and said like, "Oh, I think it's a terrible idea." But I can just tell when I talk to them, like some of them are
Or
like, "Well,
against it.
yeah." They're just like hesitant to be open to it, I guess. They're like, yeah, I mean, I guess if it helps the sport, I guess then that's what we have to do. So you can tell they're like, I don't want somebody walking like in the middle of my service motion or like spilling their like beer or popcorn or whatever. But
Well,
I think it's
yeah,
gotta be, this has to happen because I've talked about this before. Like, if doubles can take everything that people hate about singles and just flip it on its head
yeah.
and do it right, then I think people
Same.
will become bigger doubles fans than singles fans. So like
Mm,
the example I used was in New York last year. I was with a group of friends, and a couple of them had never been to a pro tennis tournament.
okay.
So we go to grandstand,
Hmm.
and we get there in between sets, but we don't get in the gate in time, and we have to sit there for like, I don't know, 12 minutes because there's a long deuce game. We have to sit there for 3 games, and we're not watching tennis. We're just standing there doing nothing. And it's just a terrible experience. Like, if this is your first pro tennis event, you're like, why? Like, what's going on here? Like, why do I have to do this? But if like I walked over to court 17 and got to go right in,
Yeah.
and there was a little bit of like music going on and people were moving around during the point, I'd be like, oh, I want to stay on the doubles courts. Like, I'm not going over to the singles courts because I have to wait, I have to be quiet. It's just really not any fun.
Yeah.
So then I think that's how we like grow both the sport and doubles itself.
I really like that because it allows people to get more enjoyment as a fan and more entertainment rather than
Hmm.
just watching the sport itself. Because a lot of these, like going to, and because we're in the United States, going to a football game, going to a baseball game, you're there and you experience the atmosphere. At a tennis
Hmm.
match, you don't really get to experience the atmosphere because if you move or something happens, then everything stops.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this has always been a topic of conversation of how we grow the singles game, but we need more interaction with the fans to allow them to be a part of the
Hmm.
game more rather than just having them be in a fishbowl essentially just to watch.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that takes away everything. And if I have someone walking like in the second row of, not saying I'm playing, but second row of Armstrong, and someone's like stopping their serve to say that guy's moving up there. Like, why is your eye line even up there? Like, there's
Yeah.
no reason it should be up there. So
Right.
if players can get used to it in doubles, I think they'll see the benefit of just having a better atmosphere for singles.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Medvedev's great with this. Like, he'll just start serving even if people are yelling, or
I love
it
it.
doesn't matter.
Well,
Yeah, I like it too.
everyone started to do it, and it seems like people start serving or they start playing a point, and then the
Yeah.
umpire makes them wait another minute for everyone to sit down, and it's
Yeah.
just like, okay,
He
I wasted 5 minutes on this.
yeah. Yeah, the the way you described that was really good. Like how it's you're kind of in a fishbowl and you're just there to watch the sport, but you're not there like to
Ex-
immerse yourself in the experience. One of the sports that Matt Ebden mentioned on my podcast was the NBA. He said they've studied the NBA a lot. And when you go to an NBA game, it's like this whole atmosphere where you've got like music playing and there's like on-court entertainment during timeouts, and like there's just so much going on. It's a total experience outside of the basketball.
yeah,
And he talked about wanting doubles to kind of embrace that kind of mentality and start to take that on,
yeah,
which I
and
think is a good idea. The only thing I worry about a little bit is like I don't want doubles to turn into like a sideshow for a big singles tournament. Like, I think
yeah,
doubles has its own value in itself.
hmm,
And like I think we can get to a point, it may take 10, 15, 20 years, but I think we can get to a point where like you can create a tournament and it's a doubles only tournament, and you're going to draw tons of fans and it's going to be on ESPN, and there's double stars. Like, I think doubles itself, the product is so good, that with the right marketing and the right business model, I think the potential is there. So I worry a little bit that some of these changes might push it towards just like a sideshow for singles players or like an exhibition event. But
Yes,
we'll see.
I'll say yes and no to that. Yes, because even during the Delray Beach Open a couple years ago when I was covering it, they would have like dancers come out, or like the Delray Beach dancers come out in between changeovers and with music to kind of provide that entertainment like an NBA game would. During halftime, you always see these like the red panda in college basketball, like
Yeah.
legends grow during halftime or
Yeah.
doing like a full court shot for a fan. Like that kind of stuff helps, but it just needs to be done right where it doesn't hinder the experience for fans, because while they're still there, I like the idea, but whether or not the execution is right, I don't think you could, because especially if it's 90 seconds, what can you do in 90 seconds? You really can't. Maybe like in between sets would be a good way to start with it, not in
Well, I think
between
that's the way to do
changeovers.
it. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Because if you're gonna do no sit downs on changeovers for the first set, then go ahead and give them like a 5-minute break after the first set, and
Yeah.
then bring some kind of on-court entertainment where it's like, um, I don't know, we're gonna pull somebody from the crowd and they're gonna try to serve a ball over 60 miles an hour or something. I don't know what it
Or like,
is, or try
yeah,
to
like
hit these targets, like serve the ball into these buckets or something, whatever
like
it
a
is.
like a half court shot, hit this
Yeah,
cone for like $1,000, or like
yeah,
get it into this bucket to win like a gift card, kind of something like that,
yes,
because it's done at everything. It's
yeah,
done
yeah,
at every
absolutely.
big event. So I can see doubles moving towards that. And I
Yeah,
like that ability to have fans again being entertained, interacting
yeah,
with the environment. That's what you want.
yeah.
That's what
I
you
think it's
want.
a good idea. I like it.
And thank you. Will, I can't thank you enough for doing this with us today. If you guys want to check out his survey, make sure to fill it out down in the description below. If you want to check out his interview with world number one, Matt Evden, another link down in the description below. Follow him on Tennis Tribe, Twitter, everything that you need to know. Is there anything that I missed that I need to shout out for, Will?
No, that's it. Yeah, people can
Yep.
find me at thetennistribe.com, and yeah, we're on Twitter, Instagram,
Perfect.
YouTube, all the stuff.
All
Thanks
right.
a ton.
No worries, Will. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. We'll see you guys soon. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks, guys.